One of the most powerful things that you can learn to do for yourself is to let go of your past ideas of yourself. Let go of that thing that you think that you are, because you have to realize that whatever you are is just a concept and a kind of a conglomerate of habits, psychological habits, thoughts, and emotions that have nestled in a kind of a bundle. And all of the transformation, all of the new stuff that you want in life is on the other side of being able to let go of that. So in this video, I'll explore how to do that and how to actually start living as a different kind of person, because that's what we all want. And we kind of understand that that's how transformation occurs. But let's explore that, okay? Who are you, right? Who are you really? Now, people like to hold on to ideas. Many people that I know or worked with, when you question certain things about their personality, they just sort of go, well, that's just the kind of person that I am. That's just the kind of person that I am. And I would like to ask you, is that actually true? Now, sure, you have certain tendencies. You have certain things which are kind of universal maybe about you, or neutral, that you preserved all through life. Maybe you were more musically inclined, maybe more visually, more mathematically, right? Maybe you're a bit of a softie for certain things, a bit of a hard-on for other things. Those things are fine. I'm talking about things like these things that we accumulate through life as a sort of a, well, no, I'm just bad with people. Well, I'm just not very, courageous or something. Or I'm bad in relationships. Oh, creativity? No, I can't do that, right? These weird limiting beliefs that we have, right? That are a conglomerate of thoughts, of emotions, and even more than that, just experiences that we have. When you get your heart broken and you take that in yourself and you carry it inside of you and it becomes a part of you. You're just like, well, yeah, it's just life. Life is difficult. Life is hard. Life is disappointing. All of that. And of course, what that does is that builds out this thick layer of an ego, right? You become that person, and after a while, you don't even want to be anyone else, even maybe sometimes you say that you do, but in reality you don't, because it provides a kind of a security. It provides a kind of a stability. But any kind of transformation that you will want to create in yourself, it will require a new kind of thinking. It will require a new kind of view. And by the way, when you get to the more efficient levels of transformation, like stuff that actually gets you results in life, every single time when I got new results in life due to some inner transformation, it was always due to releasing some old stuff and taking on the new, right? But you can't take on the new unless you release the old. Releasing the old, right, starts by simply realizing that it's a thing of habit. It's not a thing that's inherent in you. It's a thing that can be changed. You have to start thinking about this, because think about when you were a kid, when you grew up, you changed. Maybe in some ways you remain the same, but in many ways you changed, and yet you're still here. This idea, right, or by the way, interesting thought experiment. Have you noticed that moment where you just wake up? You just wake up, and for that first second, you're not even thinking about yourself. You're not even thinking about your life's history or anything. You're just being, right? You're just you. That is much closer to who you really are. And that is way more stable, by the way, because that maintains itself all through life. Rather than the job that you have right now, the relationship that you have right now, or the story that you have right now. That is way more stable, and that is something that you can build on rather than the story that you told yourself. Now, you tell yourself a story because you have these deep associations with yourself. And here's the biggest challenge that you will encounter when you want to let go of that old story. The biggest challenge that you can encounter is the fact that you're so attached to it that you no longer see it for what it is. In other words, you're a fish in water. You don't know there's water around you because it's just the natural environment that you are in. Real growth always has to include a deep introspection of what you are and what you actually think, okay? Not what you want to think, what you actually think. Not how you want to live, how you actually live, right? Without embellishing anything, without hiding anything. So if you want to let go of who you are right now, you have to become objective about it. You have to objectively state all of those things, not as a self-judgment, not as a self-flagellation or anything, not to go, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad person. No, just objectively speaking, I do this and this. Objectively speaking, I really hate this about myself. That's how I speak to myself. How do I usually speak? Well, I'm pretty mean with myself, or I'm rather charming with myself. Whatever it is, this element has to be there. You have to be extremely coherent and conscious in who you are before you can make the transformation. Because once you realize the things that you're actually telling yourself, I mean, if you're doing this right, it means you might get scared or even confused or laugh at least a little bit. A proper introspection, right, goes something like, oh, wait, I'm saying this to myself. This is something that I'm repeating to myself constantly. Well, no wonder I'm living like this. No wonder I'm doing things like I'm doing. No wonder I'm getting the success or lack of success that I'm getting, is because I'm repeating these ridiculous things about myself. That comes after a deep introspection. Once you get there, once you get that, now you're capable of starting to release that. You can only release it if you're conscious about it. When you're conscious about it, you start noticing it. When you start noticing it, you start going, oh, wait, no, that's kind of, I don't want to do that anymore. And then you forget yourself, and then you go, oh, I started talking about myself negatively again, based on the old identity. Once you notice that many times enough, right, you will be able to really start releasing that and letting in something new, right? This is why you have to, by the way, start building out something new as well. It's not about just releasing, but about looking into the new ideas that you want to change the old ideas. So it's a bit of a mixture between those two, but the first step can only come from releasing. And you have to understand that emotionally, psychologically, it might feel like a kind of a death, like a kind of a complete loss, complete confusion, and complete disorientation in the environment, because everything that you thought you know about yourself is coming to an end. And how do you even embrace life after that? How do you do life after that? It becomes very hard at that moment, or it seems very hard. The trick is to go through it. The trick is to keep going through it. And on the other side, you start realizing that those things were not even really you. They were just these psychological limitations placed on you by the environment, by your development, by your parents, or whatever, right? And you don't have to adhere to them. There's always a common thread between everything I tell people, because there's a very clear and common thread that I saw that actually works. You become very conscious of who you actually are, right? You use various methods to become more and more conscious. Once you do that, on the other hand, you train yourself to regulate yourself, to start reinforcing the new values. Slowly you start identifying with your old self less and less and less. And the new stuff, which at first is just like a little exercise, you don't even really believe it, but you kind of play around with it. You play around with it, it starts increasing. After a certain moment, you're like, yeah, there's these bad thoughts, there's this new vision, all that, new identity. And if you continue doing that, continue observing and releasing that, you continue reinforcing that, sooner or later, you'll reach a point where you're like, no, I'm just kind of that guy. I mean, sure, I have a few negative moments in that regard or in that regard, but overall, I'm this guy, right? Or this gal. And that's how it happens. And you have to become competent in your interpersonal personal skills, right? In your capacity to understand how your mind works and how to navigate it, because it will be a thing that will unlock everything that you want to do. And by the way, it's a thing that already impacts everything that you do. Every single relationship, every single job, every single passion project of yours, every single fitness journey that you're on or whatever, it's all based on these things. The most intense courage and motivation is here. So is the biggest fear, right? Because it's all in your head. So you have to learn to navigate it. It's a thing that you have to do if you want that little bit extra in life. And especially if you want a little bit of that control and capacity to attain peace, attain a kind of a self self-generated excitement and motivation for life, a bit of that independence that you always wanted. Those things are all accessible just like that, okay? So try to do that and you'll see that it's a very exciting thing. The first time that you self-generate a really intense state, you'll go, wait a second, I can just do that? And it's like, yes. And if you do that long enough, it'll become the new habit. And if you do the habit long enough, it'll become like a set of values, a set of subconscious beliefs that you just automatically assume about life. And yes, you will be living your new life. In fact, you know what? You will almost forget, not almost, you'll actually forget that you used to have problems in a certain area. So it's not going to be easy, but it is relatively simple. And anyone can do that, you too. So try it out. It's going to be fun and awesome.